Hey, peace and love, everybody. Hey, John, I don't know what hashtag BBB and hashtag HNT mean, but that's totally cool. Hey, namaste and peace, and welcome to Not Church Public Mystical Theology via the bright lens of my two near death experiences, mystical experiences, scholarship, and energy transference. I'm Peter Panagore. Thanks for joining me here this morning, and thanks for spending time on your Sunday morning with me, or afternoon if you're in Europe and high over there across the pond. Please like and subscribe, and if Not Church feeds you, please do subscribe. Like all mystics, Jesus spoke the language of metaphor, revealed by the light beneath the words that are woven into what he said. And that's so much so that after many centuries, we still can feel the tingling grace of the wisdom right here in our heart chakras. Thank you, John, for that super chat. Hey, Basilia, PL, good morning. Right here in the heart. Today, we're going to talk about world peace through individual people. Gospel of Thomas, saying number 16. But let's begin, as we always do, by cultivating our own inner peace by chanting Om. And we chant Om because it brings our mind and our thoughts right into our hearts and our throat chakra and our third eye with the vibration, and then to join together in a quiet breath of centering prayer. We're going to, if you're just joining us here this morning for the first time, centering prayer is essentially a single word prayer. You ride it into your belly on your breath and exhale it back out, and you ride it back up again out your nose, and you just keep repeating. And when your mind wanders, you return to it. It's very simple. And before we begin, hey, thank you for the super chat, Tiffany. I'm going to show you this new t-shirt designed and built by a friend of mine, a young friend of mine, Morgan, and it is a seal. We have lots of seals here on the coast of Maine. I had quite a mystical experience with a seal one day. Someday maybe I'll tell you that story, my interaction with a wild seal. But in the meantime, let's begin with 3 ohms. And yeah, the seal's a cutie. Here we go. Drop into your centering prayer. Relax. Follow your breath. Hello, Basilia and Maureen and Colleen. And I should let you all know that I have a little guest on my desk this morning. It's my friend, the chipmunk, come to have breakfast with me. Today's topic is world peace through individual people. In Thomas 16, Jesus said, "People probably think I bring peace to the planet, and they don't recognize the divisions I impose on earth. Fire, sword, battle. If there's a family of 5 living together, then there will be 3 against 2, and 2 against 3, parent against child, and child against parent, and they will stand at rest by becoming solitaries. And they will stand at rest by becoming solitaries." As often is true with metaphors, we find layered meaning here. First, there's the historically obvious truth that religion leads to wars and people's subjugations and sometimes genocide, all in the name of Jesus. And who's unfamiliar with family fights, father against son and daughter against mother, etc., etc.? Sometimes it's just better for everyone in a family dynamic like that to just separate one from the other and become as singles. And that's where the truth of this story lies. It's in the word singles. That's just one level we were talking about with the family. That's a superficial level that is satisfactory and accurate. It's an accurate explanation of the saying as far as the world goes. Jesus came and there's division and sometimes there's fights in families and all of that is true, but there is a much deeper metaphorical and transcendental meaning here. He's always talking in transcendental meaning. First, there, Jesus is renowned for giving and talking about and providing peace beyond understanding. I come to bring the peace beyond understanding. And yet, at Christmas time, we also know he's called the Prince of Peace. So he brings this peace that's beyond understanding. He's called the Prince of Peace. And yet we have this huge paradox, the bringer of peace and the causer of conflict. How do we balance these two, these paradoxical truths of heaven? The key to understanding this saying is found at the end of the saying. And they shall be in, here's another translation of it, and they shall be in tranquility when they stand or become single, one with the oneness. We are right back to the oneness again, right back to the tranquility of the singularity of the self. In that singularity of the self and that oneness that is inside yourself, that can be grown and cultivated from inside you, that's where the exterior conflict ends with an extinguishing of the false self, entering into the now, entering into the silence. And a human being still lives in this world. As human beings, we still live in this world, of course, even if we're cultivating this interior silence. But it's the part of the human being, your human being, in the equation that changes. You become the change inside yourself. The guns, the fire, the battle Jesus brought, and we can talk about the centuries of war that Christianity created interreligiously. We can talk about the centuries of war that Christianity created intra-religiously between Christian sects. He brought battle that's psychological. That's all these wars, they all come from the interior psyche of the person, of a collective of people who, instead of finding the stillness and tranquility inside themselves, they never even looked there. They never created this inside themselves. They created instead dogmas and doctrines that created conflict, that creates conflict. Now, after your awakening begins, once grace is placed inside you to teach you, and this same thing, it brings peace inside you, but it also brings this conflict with the outer world. And the conflict is the world continues on in its destructive forms, and yet you have this peace inside yourself. This morning, what I did before we gathered here is I went back inside the peace inside myself. I returned to the peace inside myself, returned to the tranquility inside myself all the time. And the war of the false self, this war, this battle between the peace inside yourself and the false self, it goes on and on until the peace begins to dominate. The more you dive inside yourself, the more you become singular, solitary, oneness, a single. The greater the peace is inside us. The greater the peace is inside us, the more it projects out into the world around us. And please don't get hung up on the words that I'm saying. It's not about the words. That's the problem that Jesus had. It's never about the words he's saying. The words always are like a hanger for the peace that rides underneath it. What I'm speaking about is beneath the words, inside the words, between the words, the silence between the words. It's the tingle you feel inside your body when you are in this meditative form. Have you ever felt the tingle in your palms? Have you felt it in your heart? Have you felt it in your belly? This is a beginning of peace inside you. This is the beginning of the singularity inside you, where the division between your false self and your true self, your higher self ends, not because they reach some sort of compromise, but because the higher self begins to dominate, begins to show itself to you for who you actually are. The false self fights back to maintain its hold on itself, and this inner war can rage on until one thing happens, until the solitude, the singleness, the tranquility, the oneness, the peace becomes like a steady ocean inside you, a current inside you that is way far below the rage of the world. This is what he's talking about. I'm getting a call from Kendall. Hello, Kendall. What's up? Say what? My connection's good. I don't know. Maybe there's a. I'm sorry that you've all lost me. Thanks. Thanks, Ken. All right. Bye. So Kendall called to tell me that there's some kind of interference. Ellen, you can still see me. Can you still hear me? Um, all right. So I'm going to continue on. It's good for Tiffany too. I'm not sure what's going on. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna go back to what I was saying. I was talking about the how the when you begin to find the inner solitude inside yourself, the false self begins to dissipate. It's not a parity between the false self and the true self. It's this development of the solitude, of the singularity, of the tranquility, of the peace inside yourself. Well, thank you everybody for letting me know that it's choppy and laggy, but I don't think it's on my end. If it is, I can't control it. I'm still live here. The conflict, the conflict ends when you see yourself for who you are in this world with inner rest. This conflict ends inside yourself, and peace begins to permeate your daily life as you live this inside yourself. Heck, I had an experience yesterday. I was riding my bike in my town, and there was a pickup truck that came roaring up behind me. I was on a 20-mile-an-hour stretch of our downtown, and it was perfectly legal for me to ride where I was riding at the speed of the traffic. And he was roaring up on me and trying to pass me and tooting his horn and making my life a little bit dangerous for me and a little bit upsetting. And after he went by, he flipped me off, and I pulled over and I stopped and I breathed. And I let the tranquility and the peace rise up inside of me, and I continued on my ride. Jesus knew that all of the interior singleness, the tranquility, and the peace that is inside us can be tapped into by every single person. It's right here inside you. It's why meditation practice matters so much over a long period of time. It's this cultivation inside us of peace. He had exterior conflict too. He was in conflict with the religious people of his day and with political people of his day. And yet he continued to say that he was bringing this inner peace to us. this peace that surpasses understanding. It's this thing that we can all have. And when we have it together, there's this energy growth that you may be feeling right now. I do. That's because this energy growth, this tranquility, this peace that begins individually, that is only exists in the world individually, then can become a collective experience because it happens individually. And when we gather together, we magnify it among ourselves. He tells us to seek this peace within ourselves. Find the I am within you. He says you are the light of the world. Make your eye single, and your body will be filled with light. In other words, be in the now. Spend time in the singular part of yourself. Spend time in the now and begin to live that out in the exterior world. He didn't come to offer peace to the world. We can see that very truly in the history of religion. This peace that he offers isn't national or communal, except for that it begins in the individual and then radiates out. That's how it becomes communal. That's how it becomes national, and that's how it becomes international. When the more of us that focus in this and find the place of no judgment inside ourselves, find the place of the loss of self inside ourselves, find the place of now and singularity and light inside ourselves, then this energetic tranquility that surpasses all understanding, this peace that is living inside us, becomes a radiant truth in our lives. This is the chance we have for peace in the world. This is the chance that we have. Not much more than that. You can just look at our country right now, in the United States, and the turmoil we have here. You can look anywhere in the world at countries in turmoil. And you can see very clearly that the people who are actively developing the peace inside their hearts aren't participating in that destruction. Instead, we're trying to bring the light into the world through our collective magnification of the radiance of the individual self, reconnecting interiorly with the beloved and letting it live inside the world. There are tens of millions of near death experiencers now who are like the ends of fiber optic cables bearing light from heaven. There are many tens of millions of more of mystical experiencers who are trying to do the same thing. This is an opportunity that we have for the first time in the history of the world to maybe bring light, enough light in the world to nudge us all over into a place of peace. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be quick. I think we have turmoil ahead of us, quite a bit of turmoil ahead of us. But the more of us that begin to focus interiorly for this light and this peace that lives inside us and channel this into the world, the better the chance we have for bringing world peace. It begins right here, individually, inside yourself. Let's spend a moment here and focus in for breath ourselves. Not church is not about the language that I use. It's not about the deconstruction of the Gospels or the Gospel of Thomas. It is about this energy experience of the singularity of yourself, your true self, your higher self, living inside your body, your actual self inhabiting your body, and you gaining access to yourself. and us gaining access to ourselves together. I hope you tell me what you think about this in the comments and in the chat. And I'm going to give you a little advice today, but it's really not my advice. It's the advice from Jesus, and it's my advice too. Seek the spiritual growth inside yourself, not of ideas, not of knowledge, but of singleness. Aim your heart to the oneness of being. Seek the peace that surpasses understanding. And then the conflict inside us ends individually, and maybe we can bring an end to the exterior conflicts as well. Maybe. If you aim at the singleness inside yourself, you will find rest. You will find rest. There's an accumulation of these moments of tranquility that we find inside our meditative lives that grows inside us and that becomes living in our lives through our attentive attention and focus to the interior life as we pacify the monkey mind. As we pacify the monkey mind, as we not even thinking divine thoughts, not looking for answers, not looking for guidance, just the divine self itself, just being in the now itself. Then this divine energy flows, this Holy Spirit flows, this prana flows, this chi becomes this living sort of experience inside us. And then we bring it with us wherever we go. We carry it with us because it is here now. That's what this is all about. That's what Not Church is for. If you want to break the patterns inside yourself, therapy helps. But thinking is the problem. Thinking that you are who you think you are. That's really the problem. Now, there's a downside to all of this. The downside to all of this is that as you grow in your interior world in this peace of your higher self, it sets you at odds and in conflict with the world. And this is what Jesus experienced. He experienced himself in conflict with religious authorities and political authorities, and they killed him for it. That hopefully doesn't happen anymore, but it used to. Even so, as you begin to find the singularity inside yourself, the oneness inside yourself, there will be peace and tranquility arising inside of you. And it becomes a refuge for us. It's a refuge for me, as I described about my bike ride yesterday. When my world is troubled on the exterior, I stop. I go back inside myself to the stability of my true self, to the higher place inside of me where I can find rest in the midst of turmoil. People talk about healing the earth, they talk about bringing world peace. This is where it begins. This is where it lives. If it doesn't live here, it can't live out here. All of the conflicts in society are brought about by conflicts that are inside ourselves, our loss of alignment to the divine. And I'm not talking dogma and doctrine. I'm talking about peace and oneness of being, a recognition that you inhabit your body and that your body is where you live. It's what you rent. It's what you are inhabiting for now, but is not who you are. This tranquility, this when they become solitary, as he says in Thomas 16, become a solitary inside yourself. When you become a solitary inside yourself, when you become connected to the oneness, you find this radiant peace that then you get to live in the world through and in. I don't think it's going to get any easier for a while in our country and in the world. It sure looks pretty tumultuous. Continue to aim inside yourself. Continue to associate with people who are in pursuit of the same thing you are. Find a community, if not our community here, then a community somewhere. Not a place where they're projecting ideas, but a place like a satsang where they are bringing peace inside themselves. Much more important than ideas, than knowledge, is connection to the peace itself. That's where the conflict ends. That's where the peace begins. You know, the next 15 or 20 years are going to be tumultuous here. We're running out of water west of the Mississippi. That alone should give you pause. That means migration. Begin your practice now. And as our country changes, as the world changes, the more of us that aim inside ourselves for this peace at this crucial point in human history, where there are tens of millions of NDEers bringing the message of light and love, and tens of millions of more mystical experiencers who already have experienced it themselves in some touch, the more of us that aim toward the singularity, the greater the possibility of nudging society into a place of peace, of mutual support, of one humanity, of one people on one planet. Jesus didn't come to bring world peace. He came to bring you peace inside your heart. And from there, then it grows. I want to thank everybody for spending time with me this morning. I know that it's a beautiful day out there in a lot of places. You could be doing lots of other things. What I really am trying to do here is to create a place where you can experience the peace itself, where you can experience the energy transference, the energy transmission, the divine Pentecost of the presence of the divine in a palatable, experiential, feeling sort of way. This is an independent, public, mystical, scholarly, practical mission, ministry. And I'm only able to do it because of my longtime supporters and the people who drop in now and again a couple of bucks and the plate. And I'm going to thank you all for doing that for me, for doing that for us. You've made it possible to get this far. And I thank you for that. So if Not Church feeds you, if you feel this energy transference, this energy transmission among us in a collective, then please give what you can to keep this going. I appreciate it. peterpanagore.Love, PayPal, Patreon, Zelle. We're a community of mystics from all around the world. Thank you, Mary, in the super chat. And you can join us at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, with a Zoom link down in the description for a continued conversation. Mystic Tea Salon, where we learn from each other's mystical wisdom and humility, compassion, and kindness. I don't have this mistaken idea that I have all the answers. I don't. I am a seeker. I am a seeker who is always trying to enter into the now. That's where my seeking is. Not out here, not up here, but right in here. Going back here. I am in a growth pattern as well. I am not a finished product as a human being. As a higher self, I am in the divine light. As a human being, I'm working it out too. We do this together. And at Mystic Tea Salon, there's wisdom shared from among dozens of people worldwide who have a heart for the divine. If you have any questions or comments, bring them up in the chat now. We can have a little conversation. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. I'm looking over to see got 72 people here this morning and 32 likes. It's super helpful. Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments or things they want to bring up that we can talk about over here in the chat? Thank you, Colleen, for your support. I appreciate that very, very much. Robert says, know that your heart is a love generator. It makes your wealth that will become one with the Father, capital F on that Father metaphor. Your heart is the generator of love. It is the connector to the divine self. There is nothing else other than that. There is only this. And you don't need to take my word for it. You're going to see for yourself. You'll see for yourself the day that your life transitions to the next. This peace becomes a treasure here on earth and as you depart. Hello, dog-faced pony soldier and brothers and sisters. He says, hello there. Ellen, what did you say? Sending support to you brings me some peace knowing I'm doing something to further the good we all have. Ellen, I thank you very much for all the support that you've given me for these many months. It's been very, very helpful. Kathy, love to you too. Tim, I like your explanations and the calmness I get from being here. There is a calmness that supersedes. This is not my calmness. This is not my light. This is not my radiance. It's not my solitariness. It's not my singleness. It's not my oneness. It is the divine self itself. And if you feel that, if you feel this radiance, it's because it's already inside of you. That's why it resonates with you, because it's already living there. And it is so much bigger than me and you and all of us. It's bigger than the universe. It's bigger than all things that are. The more we tap into it, the greater the tranquility we can have inside ourselves. Kristen, you keep giving me reminders I need. I must be a slow learner. It's not so much about the learning. It really is about the heart and cracking it open. And when it cracks open, then the love flows in, the light flows in. But if, I keep cracking mine open. I keep cracking it open again and again and again. I keep opening the inner door, opening the inner door, opening the inner door through my interior practice and meditation. This entering into the now, where there is no thought, not even holy thoughts, not sacred thoughts, just the divine presence itself, capital P. Patience is a tough lesson. Patience comes as a result of the process of the practice. It arises naturally from it. When you're in the now, there is patience because you're in the now, even if it's only a single breath each time you practice. First time to participate, great platform. Thank you, Studio J-Bone. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm glad you're here. I hope this feeds you. That's the whole goal here, is to feed. Oh, you want to hear about my seal experience? All right, I could talk about that. Bailing, thank you. I want to say Gertrude, thank you. Thank you, Kitya. Beautiful message, thank you. Ing, thank you. Oh, I like that. Ing, very cute, being. Spiritual chiropractic. Yeah. Yes, again and again and again. All right. So the seal. So Rachel, so this is what happened. I was living on an island down East Maine, and for you Mainers, I was living in Deer Isle, and I was in Sunset, which is a village in Deer Isle, and I'd gone out paddling in kayaks with a buddy of mine at sunset. And as we came into Sylvester's Cove, um, I was leading. My buddy was behind me, maybe 5 boat lengths or so, and the sun was going down over the Camden Hills, and 1,000 mosquitoes came out, like 1,000 mosquitoes, and they just landed on us and just, poking us all over, sucking our blood out. And we're trying to get in because, the mosquitoes, mosquitoes, mosquitoes. And as I'm paddling into the cove, a seal popped up maybe 20 feet from me, out of the water, back under the water. And the next thing I knew, it popped up right next to me in the kayak and looked at me, sort of in front of my paddle. Yeah, it was in front of my paddle. Looked at me in the eyes, and then ducked down underneath my kayak. I stopped paddling. He ducked down underneath my kayak and came up on my right hand side and looked at me, and then rolled over on its back and reached up its leathery, his wet, leathery flipper and kind of waggled it at me. So I reached down and I grabbed its flipper, like caressed it like this, and I touched its nails, its really hard, very large nails, and it rolled over, and I got to pet its back, and it dove underneath and it came up again, and it dove underneath and it came up again, and I got to touch its head, and another seal popped up. And it looked at me, and these 2 seals looked at each other, or like up out of the water, over looking over the kayak and back down a little bit, and then it just went under, and it paddled away. And meanwhile, my buddy, he was being eaten by 1,000 mosquitoes, and me too, but we both stayed exactly where we were, and I got to touch and pet the seal. And that's my seal story. It's not a great story, it's just a wildlife interaction. And so when I saw this at our town festival this week, Windjammer Days in Boothbay Harbor, and it's designed and made by a young friend of mine by the name of Morgan. I thought I could have that shirt. I'm going to wear it on Sunday. So this is my friend the seal. Yeah, it's the energy. All right, my friends. I'll see you at the top of the hour, I hope, and we can have a conversation. I just noticed how crooked that looks. What do you know? Yeah. Oh well. So anyway, peace and love to you all. Um, I've had a lot of those wildlife interactions. Uh, Chickadees, chipmunks, um, northern goshawk, grizzly bear, um, seal. Anyway, you're not crooked looking. Thanks, Colleen. All right, my friends. I'll see you at the top of the hour. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. I'll see if there's anything else anybody wants to bring up. Oh, and the frogs. Yes, last week I actually did leave a window open. That's why you could hear them. And dogs and cats and deer. Grizzly. Yeah, I have quite the grizzly story. Maybe I'll tell that at Mystic Tea Salon. Yeah, jeez, that was quite the day. Um, how beautiful, Peter. When I'm in the water on a small vessel close to them, I say hello, and I love it when they feed on fish out here in front. It's beautiful. Ah, yeah. Those seals are just these fantastic animals, and they're big eyes, dark eyes. Hmm. All right. I'll see you at the top of the hour, everybody. Peace and love. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and really thanks for your support. You totally make it possible for me to be here. Um, See you soon. Thanks for being here. John, tell your turtle story. Come and tell your turtle story at Mystic Tea Salon. Peace and love, everybody. Namaste.